So what we can do then, if I want to make a comparative type of statement is, and this is where we have to kind of think of how QuickBooks works. If I want to compare, say, 2025 to 2024, I'm not going to set the date range from 2024 to 2025. I could, if I did that, notice what would happen. 2024 to 2025, and then I could set this to years, and it would give me the 2-column comparison, the older period first, and then the latter period. But what if I want 2025 first, and then 2024, and then I want to take the difference between the two and possibly then a percentage change column? Well, then I don't want to run for the 2-year time frame, but I want to run for the latest period, which is going to be 01/01/25 to 12/31/25. I want to see it in totals. I'm not going to switch this column. That's not how I'm going to do my comparative report this way. If I want to make a difference column, I'm going to run it. So now I'm back to just one column. And then we're going to go into the drop down, not that one, this one. And this is this is the old view, the classic view, where it has the previous period. So the previous period in custom periods is going to be 1, 2. Now notice it changed it a little bit because of possibly the difference in the number of days in each year. So we want to make it possibly a full year. And if it was a full year, I could go down to here, right? So the previous year, which will give us the previous year, or I can custom put in the period, which will most likely be a previous year. In our case, it might be easier to do this one and then run it, remembering that I'm going to switch it back to the modern mode just so we get an idea of where these things are located. So if I go into the compare thing in the modern mode, now I'm comparing to the previous year here, and then we've got our calculations, which is the dollar change, the percentage change, and so on and so forth. All right, let's go back to the classic mode. And so there is our comparison. So now we have the balance sheet as of December 31st, 2025. Notice that this subdate is a little bit off, or it may not be something we want to keep. We might want to remove it now because we now have 2 periods as of the end of 2025 and in the prior year, 2024. And there we have it. Now notice it's also a little bit harder for us to change these headers. Maybe I don't want it to say prior year here. Maybe I just want it to say 2024. If we export this report to Excel, we can do a little bit of more of that customized formatting to it as well. Although again, remember that you would have to do that in essence every time if you were to export and do more formatting in Excel every time you generate the report. If I hit the drop down again, then I can do a comparison for a change in dollar amount, which is quite common. So I can run that. So now I have the difference between the two. Because there's only 2 columns, that allows me to run the difference. Again, if I was in the switch to modern mode, where would that be located? It would be in the compare area. I did the prior year, and then in the drop down, now we have the dollar change. All right, let's close that back out and let's go back to the classic mode just so we see both of them. Then if I select the drop down, I can also do the percentage change, and then I will run it again. And so now we have the percentage change. Now the percent change, by the way, if I go to the switch to the modern mode, that would be under the comparisons. And now we have this one up here and then the drop down, which has the dollar change and the percent change, which is a little bit more efficient of a layout than we have in the classic mode, but you could see the comparison between the two. Let's go back to the classic mode. Let's see how is that change calculated. This is a common thing that we want to basically know how to do, a change period over period. Notice that we have the current period up front. So if I'm looking at this comparison on this top line, it would be 1201 minus the 2042.32 gives us a negative change. It went down 842.32. And then I take that change divided by not the current period, but the prior period. So divided by the 2042.32. So that gives me a 41.19% decrease. Now that's important to note because if you talk about any kind of like measuring tool, measuring performance. For example, baseball players having a performance of how well they play the game measured in terms of their percent increases and decreases, right, in their statistics for hitting and pitching and so on and so forth. Similarly, stock market changes and changes in other job performances are often framed in percent increases and decreases. So how do you get there? Current period less the prior period, that difference divided by not the current period, but the prior period, giving you that percentage change. All right, so then we can also do some formatting here. So now maybe I don't want this title in here. Maybe I want the negative numbers to be bracketed, for example. So in that case, I might go to the customization of the reports. And maybe I want to say that I want to see negative numbers to be bracketed and maybe red. And maybe I don't want the pennies without cents. And then possibly on the header, I want to see the report period, remove the report period. I don't want on the footer the date prepared, time prepared, and report basis. So I'm going to remove those and then OK. If I was in the other, and now you have the red here, no decimals and so on and so forth. Notice that if you were in the other mode, if I switched to the modern mode, we did some of those adjustments, more of them being in the general options over here. So we said don't show zeros, we had that. And then round amounts to the nearest whole currency. That's the removing of the pennies. Negative numbers show red. And then on the header, we had the report period and the date prepared and time prepared. I've removed these, date prepared, time prepared, and we want to get the report period out of there, so it removes that item. And then I'll go OK. So there it is on that format. Let's go back to the classic view. So now we have, that's the general layout. So that's how we can do a comparative report. Just a quick look if you had a different period on it.